They say the deeper the betrayal, the quieter the reaction. When my Uncle Marcus tried to destroy everything I built, I didn't scream or cry. I simply reached for the hidden file that would bring our entire family's empire crashing down around his ears. My name is Emily Chen, and at 32, I had transformed Chen Innovations from a struggling software consultancy into an $80 million technology powerhouse. Not that my Uncle Marcus ever gave me credit for it. In his eyes, I was still the naive girl who'd inherited 30% of the company when my father died 6 years ago. The morning everything changed started like any other at our sleek downtown headquarters. I was reviewing our latest quantum encryption contracts when Marcus burst into my office, tablet in hand. "Care to explain this?" he demanded, throwing the device onto my desk. The screen showed our quarterly financials, or rather, the version of them he wanted the board to see. "Explain what, Uncle Marcus?" I kept my voice neutral, though my heart rate picked up. After 18 months of careful investigation, was he finally making his move? "These losses," he jabbed at the screen, "3 million in the last quarter alone. The board meeting is in 2 hours, and I had to hear about this from risk management." I studied his face, the practiced outrage, the calculated concern. Behind his designer glasses, his eyes showed something else. Triumph. "I have a full presentation prepared for the board," I said calmly, thinking of the real numbers safely encrypted on my private server. "We should discuss all the details together." "Oh, we'll discuss them all right." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Every last detail of your incompetence." After he stormed out, I opened my secure messaging app, sending a pre-arranged signal to 3 people. Diana Martinez, our head of cybersecurity, who'd been helping me track the real money trail, James Wong, my contact at the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, and Sarah Chen, my younger sister who worked in our legal department without Marcus knowing she was qualified as a forensic accountant. "It's happening," I wrote. 2 hours. The responses came quickly. Servers secured. Evidence backed up. Diana, team standing by. James, legal documentation ready. Sarah. I leaned back in my chair, remembering the day everything started. I'd been reviewing old contracts after my father's death when I noticed something odd. Consulting fees being paid to shell companies, all registered to addresses that didn't exist. It had taken months of careful digging to follow the money, to discover that while I was building our legitimate business, Uncle Marcus had been running a sophisticated embezzlement scheme. The evidence was devastating. $27 million siphoned off through fake contracts, tax evasion through offshore accounts, and bribes paid to secure contracts we should have won on merit. But proving it required patience. Marcus had spent years building his network of loyal employees, all taking their cut of the stolen millions. So I built my own network. Diana, brilliant and incorruptible, helped me track the digital trail. Sarah, overlooked by Marcus because she was just a junior legal assistant, documented everything with forensic precision. And I played my part, the naive niece, too focused on technology to notice the financial manipulation happening around me. The board meeting room filled slowly. 12 members, most of them Marcus's old friends, took their seats around the mahogany table. I noticed how they avoided my eyes, these men who'd watched me grow up, who were about to try to take everything from me. Marcus stood at the head of the table, radiating authority in his bespoke suit. "Thank you all for coming on short notice. We have a serious situation to address." The presentation screen lit up with graphs showing devastating losses, all carefully manufactured to make my leadership look catastrophic. Under Emily's management, Marcus continued, his voice heavy with fake regret, "Chen Innovations has hemorrhaged money. The numbers don't lie." No, I thought they don't. But people do. 3 million lost last quarter, he announced. Contracts mismanaged, resources wasted, critical decisions delayed. The evidence of incompetence is overwhelming. The board members nodded along. Of course they did. Half of them were complicit in Marcus's schemes. I moved that we remove Emily Chen from her position. Effective immediately, Marcus declared. For gross incompetence and mismanagement of company resources. "I second the motion," said Howard Pierce, one of Marcus's oldest allies. The same Howard Pierce who had a numbered account in the Caymans that received regular payments from our shell companies. Marcus turned to me, triumph gleaming in his eyes. "Emily, do you have anything to say in your defense?" I stood slowly, straightening my jacket. Actually, I do, but first, I believe we have some visitors arriving. Right on cue, the boardroom doors opened. James Wong entered, flanked by FBI agents. Behind them came Diana and Sarah, carrying stacks of documents. "What is this?" Marcus demanded, but I caught the flash of fear in his eyes. "This," I said quietly, "is what competent management actually looks like." I nodded to Diana, who connected her laptop to the presentation screen. "Shall we look at the real numbers, Uncle Marcus?" The color drained from his face as the first of the true financial records appeared on screen. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in the shouting. It's in the silence that follows the truth. Sarah stepped forward, her heels clicking on the polished floor. "I've prepared copies of the complete forensic audit for everyone. All $27 million of it." The boardroom erupted in chaos. Marcus lunged for the door, but found his path blocked by FBI agents. Howard Pierce slumped in his chair, looking like he might be sick, and I stood calmly at the center of the storm I created, watching 6 years of betrayal finally come crashing down. The next hour in that boardroom stripped away decades of carefully constructed lies. Diana's presentation was devastating in its precision, each slide revealing another layer of Marcus's fraud. "Let's start with Project Phoenix," I said, pulling up the contract details. A $15 million consulting project that apparently required 3 separate firms. Interesting that all 3 companies shared the same post office box in Grand Cayman. Marcus had found his voice. "This is a witch hunt. She's fabricated everything." "The evidence is quite real," James Wong interjected, his FBI badge glinting under the fluorescent lights. "We've been building this case for months. The shell companies, the offshore accounts, the kickbacks, all of it documented and verified." Sarah stepped forward, her professional demeanor a far cry from the junior legal assistant Marcus had always dismissed. "Should we discuss the Watson contract next? The one where $3 million in consulting fees went to a company owned by your wife's brother." Howard Pierce suddenly developed an intense interest in his shoes. 2 other board members were already whispering with their phones, no doubt calling their lawyers. "This company," Marcus sputtered, "everything we've built." "Everything I've built," I corrected quietly. "While you were stealing millions, I grew our legitimate business from $10 million to $80 million. Our quantum encryption technology is revolutionizing data security. We have contracts with Fortune 500 companies that we won on merit, not bribes." Diana pulled up another screen. Here's where it gets interesting. The real quarterly numbers show a $5 million profit, not a $3 million loss. The difference? Money siphoned through fake consulting contracts and inflated vendor payments. Marcus tried a new tactic. "Emily, please. We're family. Whatever mistakes were made, we can fix this internally." "Family?" I felt a cold smile form. "Like when you tried to blame Dad's death on my distracting him with technical questions during his final days, or when you told the board I was emotionally unstable after his funeral?" The room fell silent. Even Marcus's most loyal allies were edging away from him now. "Your father," Marcus began, but I cut him off. "My father trusted you." His last words to me were, "Watch the numbers, Emmy." I didn't understand then. But he knew, didn't he? He was starting to figure it out. Sarah pulled out another document. "We found this in Dad's old files." He began tracking the discrepancies, but his illness progressed too quickly. Marcus lunged for the papers, but FBI agents were faster. As they handcuffed him, he made one last attempt. "The company will collapse when this gets out. You'll destroy everything." "No," I said firmly. "I've spent 6 years building real value, real innovation. Chen Innovations doesn't need your fraud to succeed." We never did. The next few hours were a blur of FBI interviews, legal declarations, and shocked board members trying to save themselves. By sunset, Marcus and 3 board members were in custody. Howard Pierce had turned state's evidence, desperate to save himself. In the aftermath, reporters called it one of the most sophisticated corporate fraud exposures in recent history. The headlines wrote themselves. Tech Harris exposes $27 million family fraud ring, and Chen Innovations CEO brings down uncle's criminal empire. But the real story wasn't in the headlines. It was in the quiet moments that followed. The company all-hands meeting where I finally told our employees the truth, promising transparency and real leadership going forward. Sarah's promotion to general counsel, her legal brilliance no longer hidden behind a junior title. Diana's appointment as chief security officer, her loyalty rewarded with a seat at the executive table. The day we launched our quantum encryption platform, winning contracts on pure technological merit. Marcus's sentencing hearing was 6 months later. I attended, sitting quietly in the back as the judge delivered his verdict. 15 years for fraud, embezzlement, and tax evasion. Ms. Chen, the judge addressed me directly. Your company's cooperation was instrumental in exposing this fraud. Do you wish to make a statement? I stood looking at my uncle, older now, stripped of his designer suit and arrogance. Only this: success built on lies will always collapse. Real value comes from creating something genuine. The company didn't just survive the scandal, it thrived. Our stock price doubled when investors saw our true financial health. Without the burden of supporting Marcus's fraud, our profit margins soared. We won contracts based on innovation, not bribes. A year later, I sat in my office, the same one where Marcus had tried to intimidate me that fateful morning. Sarah entered, carrying a familiar file. Found this in the old archive room, she said. Dad's original business plan for Chen Innovations. His vision was always about creating real technology, not just profits. I opened the yellowed document, smiling at our father's handwritten notes. One line stood out: the true measure of a business isn't in its numbers, but in its integrity. The quarterly board meeting was starting soon, with new members now, ethical leaders who shared our vision. On my desk sat the latest financial report showing legitimate profits of $12 million for the quarter. Real numbers, real success. Deanna poked her head in. Time for the meeting, boss. I gathered my papers, pausing at the door. The view from my office showed our expanded R&D facility, where teams of engineers were developing the next generation of encryption technology. Real innovation, created by people who were finally free to do their best work. Marcus's old office had been converted into a collaborative workspace. His wall of glory, photos of him with celebrities and politicians, replaced by screens showing real-time development metrics and project updates. Sometimes late at night, I think about that final confrontation in the boardroom. About Marcus's face when he realized his niece, the one he dismissed as naive and incompetent, had been 10 steps ahead of him all along. But mostly, I think about Dad's words. Watch the numbers, Emmy. He taught me that true success isn't about quick profits or clever schemes. It's about building something real, something that lasts. Last week, a reporter asked what I'd learned from exposing the fraud. I thought about Marcus in his prison cell, about the company's renewed success, about the legacy Dad had really left us. I learned that the biggest frauds often hide behind the loudest voices, I said, and that real power isn't in what you take, it's in what you build. Chen Innovations continues to grow, but now it grows cleanly, ethically, built on innovation rather than deception. Every quarter, I review the numbers personally, the real numbers, honoring Dad's last lesson about vigilance and integrity. And in my desk drawer, I keep 2 things: Dad's original business plan and a copy of Marcus's conviction notice. One shows how to build something real. The other shows what happens when you choose lies instead. The choice, as always, is in the numbers. And now, finally, all our numbers are true.